so again, last class we talked about solving an equation, which we've been doing for a couple days now. Just now, last class we had multiple steps we had to do rather than just one or two steps. So this is the worksheet you should be looking for, worksheet 6. There's a prompts here.
We're picking up where we left off. Paragraph.
Yeah. Yes, I know. Yes, go ahead. And credit.
Joe, I saw your mom yesterday. She looks just like you. I was like, that's Joe's mom.
Alright, so what we're going to take a look at,
Everyone should have their notes from last class out.
we're going to take a look at numbers 13 and 14, as well as going more in depth with what we did before that, of justifying our steps. And then here's from the previous. Where we so far away. Okay, that's probably smart. Alright. So number 13. We've encountered problems like this before. I know they're a bit of a struggle, but we're going to take a look at how to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to show you a couple of different things you can do. Alright, so right now we have that fraction, right? We don't like fractions. We want to get rid of them because we cannot do anything with my numerator until I get rid of that denominator, that bottom number. So if I'm currently dividing by 4, what do I need to do to get rid of that? Multiply by 4. So I'm going to multiply the entire side by 4. Mohammed, we're working on our notes from yesterday. Alright, and both sides have to be multiplied by 4. Now here we have our 4's cancel out because 4 divided by 4 is just 1. Over here, what is 4 divided by 2 reduced down to? 2. So this is 2, and that's just 1. So we have then 5p plus 2 equals, now notice I'm still multiplying the entire top by 2. What do I have to do when there's those parentheses around it? What do I have to do when we're multiplying? Distribute. So we actually have to distribute this 2 here. Alright, so 2 times 4p is 8p. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. So again, let's take a look at what we did there. To get rid of my denominators, I multiplied by the larger denominator because I knew that would get rid of both. That eliminated the denominator on the left side and eliminated the denominator on the right side, but we're still left with 2 that we had to distribute. Questions so far? Great. Alright, so now we need to start combining our like terms. We look to see on the left side of my equation, is there anything I can combine together? And we see that they're different terms, so we can't combine together. Same with the right side, they're different terms, so I can't combine those together. So now I need to start moving things to other sides of the equation. In order to cross that equals, what do I have to do? What do I have to do in order to cross the equal sign? I can't just take negative 16 and move it over here. What do I have to do? Right, we have to do the opposite. So right now, we have positive 5p, so we could subtract this entire term over. We have positive 2, we're adding 2, so we could subtract 2 over, or we could subtract 8p over, or add 16 over. What do we want to do? What do you guys think we should do? Subtract the 2? Sounds good. Alright, so if I subtract my 2, then I get 5p equals 8p minus 18. Alright. Now I want to get my variables together. So Trey, what will I do next? Well, we want to do the opposite, right? I need to get my variables together. So I need to get 8p and 5p together. But when I cross the equals, I have to do the opposite. So if I currently have a positive 8p, what do I do? Instead of adding, what do I do to the other side? Right, so we're going to now subtract 8p. I don't want that to look like addition. Right, so I'm going to subtract 8p from both sides. Now we're dealing with negatives here. So 5 minus 8 gives me negative 3p. Negative 8p and positive 8p cancel out, so I have negative 18. Alright, now this was a common mistake we saw that I want to make sure we get clarified right now. I have negative 3 times p. We're multiplying. So if I want to eliminate my negative 3, what must I do? Divide. We saw on your mini quizzes, there were many of you that did this. You said plus 3, p equals negative 15. We're not adding 3 here. Negative 3 is being multiplied by p. So what we need to do is the opposite of that. I cannot stress that to you enough. We must do the opposite. So divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. And our answer is p equals 6. That gives us C there. Alright, so again, be careful. When we have a number and a variable together, those are glued together with multiplication. You cannot separate these unless you divide by that number. You cannot just subtract it away. You cannot just add it away. Now, notice we did subtract the entire term. We moved the whole thing over by subtracting. But to separate these, you must use division. Division is the way to undo that rule.
Remember, when she moved that over, she only combined it with like terms.
Yes.
You cannot put something with a variable combined with something without a variable.
So in Ms. Robinson, there's another common mistake we saw. I'm going to take this piece over here. Let's say, for example, we had this equation again. We saw some people that would subtract 2 and subtract 2 here and say, okay, so it's 5p equals 6p minus 16. You cannot combine these together because they're not like terms. I can only combine the negative 2 and the negative 16 together because they're like terms. If it helps, this is actually the more proper way to do it, but if it helps you to do it this way, if it helps when you're subtracting 2, if it helps you to write it on the end so that you can see that these two go together, that's fine. Most people don't like to do it that way, but you can do it. If that helps you to then combine like terms and say that's negative 18, then go ahead and do so. But be careful with that. You can only combine like terms together, and you can only separate multiplication with division.
And remember, when you write on the side, that's fine, but it's not always going to be next to its like term.
Right.
It should be next to another variable. Just because it's next to it doesn't mean it's combined.
Correct. So let's say, for example, with this problem again, if I subtracted 5p, still the like term is with 8p. Right? So I can only combine those together and get 3p minus 16. Alright. Questions on that? Those are just some common mistakes we saw that we want to make sure you know how to fix. Alright, so then number 14, we're dealing with fractions here. Do not let fractions intimidate you. Have your calculator close by so that you can use that to help you out. When we put fractions in the calculator, what must we use? Parentheses. I want to hear everyone say it. When we put fractions in the calculator, we must use parentheses. You must use parentheses. Alright, so we have to distribute 1/4 to both pieces. 1/4 times 28 is 7, because it's 28 divided by 4. So 7x. 1/4 times negative 16 is negative 4y. And then, oh look, we have to distribute again. What am I distributing to both pieces? Negative 1/9. Make sure you have this negative with it. If it helps you, do plus and negative there to remind yourself. So then I get minus 3x plus 6y. Questions so far? Now notice we're just simplifying here. There's no equal sign, right? We're not solving. We're just combining like terms. So Trey, what two terms can I combine together? Trey. What two terms can I combine together? Very good. Our negative 4y and our positive 6y. So then, Tayshawn, what other ones can I combine together? Yeah, our 7x and our negative 3x. All right, so we get 7x and negative 3x. It's 4x, negative 4y, positive 6y is plus 2. All right, and did I do it wrong? I must have done something wrong. 7x minus 4y minus 3 plus 6 positive 4 positive 2. The answer not up here?
190 is negative 2 minus 1 to minus 2.
Thank you, Nata. 191 times 18 is not 6. 18 divided by 9 is 2. Thank you. Okay, let's try that again. I thought it worked for first period. Alright, so negative 4y and positive 2y is negative 2y. Awesome. Alright, questions on that? So this was nothing new. This is what we've done before, but I know these are trickier problems. So make sure you know how to do it. Alright, so let's take a look at this piece again. We quickly went through this, so I want to do another example of it. When we are solving, there's actually a property that goes for each step we do. In geometry, when you get to geometry next year, you actually will do this some as well. So we introduce the idea now, and you have to do it a little bit in algebra 2, but not as much. So there are basically reasons why we're allowed to do what we've just done. We talked about these properties 2 classes ago, and the majority of them were properties of equality. So if you look, our first statement is always given. The first one, you just say given, this is what has been given to us. So then we look to see, how did we get from here to here? Well, we subtracted 4x from both sides. So what did we do? We subtracted. So it's the subtraction property of equality. Because we did it to both sides, that's the property of equality. We cut to equal. Alright, so then to get from this step to this step, we divided by 2 on both sides. So division, because we divided, property of equality, we kept that it was equal. And then our last step, we like to have it as x equals, I think, Naman, you were asking about this last class. We like to have our answers as x equals, so when you flip that, then that's our symmetric property. It stays the same. Alright, so let's take a look at this problem here. It's a bit of a doozy of a problem, but it's a good way to practice those properties. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and number them so we can keep our steps and our reasons together. Alright, so the very first one is given. It's always going to be given. What they give to us here. Alright, and you should be writing this down. Everyone should be writing this down. Okay, so then our first step, we need to get rid of those parentheses. How do we do that? Distribute. We need to distribute this to both there, and we need to distribute this guy. So I get 4 plus 4x plus 3x equals, make sure you distribute that negative, negative 2x minus 2. Okay, so this is my second step. And what did we do for that step? We distributed. So that's the distributive property. Okay. After we distribute, we want to combine like terms on each side of the equation. So looking at just the left side, what can I combine together on just the left side? Q1, I'm so glad you raised your hand. Oh. What can we combine together on the left side of my equation over here?
The 4x.
Very good. We can combine our 4x and our 3x together. So we have then 4 plus 7x equals, and we can't combine anything over here, so negative 2x minus 2. So my third step, what do? We combine like terms. Combine like terms. Basically, you're saying why you're, or what you're doing, why you're allowed to do what you're doing. All right, what do we want to do next? Darling, what would you like to do? What do you want to subtract? Sounds good. Sounds good. So we have a -2. We want to move it to the other side, so we have to do the opposite. And subtract a -2 is the same thing as adding 2, right? So it's -2. We're subtracting 2, so we want to add 2 to both sides. Good. So add 2. Add 2. So then I get 6 plus 7x equals -2x. And that property there, we added the same thing to both sides, so the addition property of equality. Okay, addition property. Alright, so now we have 6 plus 7x equals -2x. What do we want to do next? Joe, do you have an idea? Let me give you a hint. We want to get our x's together because we're trying to get x by itself. So how can I move one x to the other side? Good, so we want to move our 7x over, but we have to do, in order to cross the equal sign, we have to do the opposite, right? So we have to subtract it. We have to subtract the opposite. Alright, so we have then 6 equals, those cancel, -9x. So we subtracted the same thing from both sides, so the subtraction property of equality. Alright, and then finally, let's see, Rachel, what do you think we'll do? Divide. We're going to divide by -9. And again, notice I have to divide to get rid of it. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. I can't just add 9 to both sides. Alright. So 6 divided by -9 is a fraction. It reduces down, though, to -2/3. Alright, so this, we divided on both sides, so the division property of equality, I'm going to start abbreviating. Alright, and then our final step, the last thing we need to do is have it as x equals. So if -2/3 equals x, then I know that x equals -2/3. Does anyone remember what this property is called? This is called the symmetric property. Alright. Questions on that? Okay. So it's just a little bit more practice with the properties there. I think you had a couple of multiple choice questions on your homework last night of those. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to come check your homework while you're working on worksheet 7. So if you flip your notes over to the back side, you'll see worksheet 7 up in the top. And the way that this worksheet works is that you're going to actually do this with a partner. So I'm going to come around and make sure everyone's paired up well. And you are going to solve one half of the problems. Your partner is going to solve the other half. You should get the same answer for each one. But number 6, they're actually different answers. So you're going to do half the problems, your partner does the other half, and then compare to see if you got the same answer.
If you guys would use